Hello everyone, and welcome to our 4th week of Music with JCAL. I'm so excited to be here with you. Last week, we talked about a bunch of new things, but we also reviewed, and we learned about individual instruments and their part in other ensembles. Today we're going to continue talking about individual instruments and review everything that we've gone over for the past 4 weeks. So here we go, let's have some fun. Let's talk about rests. Rests in music are when the instrument or your voice takes a pause and there's no sound. There are different lengths of rests. They can be a whole note rest, which gets 4 beats, a half note rest, which gets 2 beats, a quarter note rest, which gets 1 beat, and an eighth note rest, which gets a half a beat. Now there are many tips in order to remember which rests are which. The whole rest, which gets 4 beats, actually looks like a hole. If you were walking along the top, you would fall into the square hole in the middle. This is what the whole rest looks like. Next we have the half rest, which is one of the easiest. Half starts with an H, and this rest looks like an old-fashioned hat, which also starts with an H. Remember, half rest gets the hat. Now we have the quarter note rest that gets 1 beat. This quarter note rest, to me, looks like a lightning bolt or a squiggly cue. And finally, we have the eighth note rest. The eighth note rest has the note and the stem and the flag, but it's upside down. It's also a lot smaller than the other rests. In week 2, we made flashcards with all of our different note values, the quarter note, half note, whole note, and eighth note. And we worked on putting them in groups of 4 to create a measure and practicing those rhythms by clapping them out or tapping them out on our hand. Today we're going to do the same thing, so if you have those cards, get them out, and if you haven't made them or you threw them away, just make them again. Remember, you need 4 quarter notes, 2 half notes, 1 whole note, and 1 eighth note card that has 2 eighth notes in it. Okay? If you need extra help, go back to our video in week 2, and there's a whole step-by-step instruction there. I'm going to take you step by step on how to draw all of these rests. Alright, so first we're going to start off drawing our whole rest. Okay? So we start with a line that goes straight across, and we create a square that's going down, like if this were a sidewalk and we're going to make a hole here. Just make a nice rectangle, not too thick, longer than it is deep, right? And there's our whole rest. 4 beats, just takes the place of a whole note. Okay, now let's practice our half note. We start with the same line, but this time the rectangle, which is the same size, goes on the top of the line, as if we were making a top hat, and it's always colored in. Awesome. Now, this is the trickiest one. The quarter note rest. Now, there's a very specific way that it looks when it's printed on music that is generated by a computer. But in shorthand, which most musicians will agree, just start in the upper left hand corner of your squiggle and you're just going to go back and forth a few times. Okay? Just like that. We'll try again. Like that. And finally we have our eighth note rest. Okay? It's a little bit trickier, but not as crazy as the quarter note. Now we start with a dot. Now we're going to make a circular motion, slightly curved up to the right, and a slightly curved motion down to the left. Just like that. Practice that a few times. Drag your dot and you go up to the right and down to the left. This one's a smaller rest, okay, than the other ones. It can be as small as that, really. Now, just as before, we are going to put our rhythms and our rests in groups of 4, a measure of 4, 4. 4 beats per measure, the quarter note is equal to 1 beat, right? So using my cards from the other week, I could simply, just to start us off, put out my 4 quarter notes like this. This would be a measure of 4, 4. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Equally instead, I could just have one whole note and get rid of the rest of these, right? Or I can exchange out 2 quarter notes for a half note, right? But let's say we have these 4 quarter notes. We're going to add, instead, a quarter note rest, right? I'm going to put it right here at the end. Now, here is my new measure. It sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, rest. If I put it back, my quarter note, it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. Now I'm going to take out my first 2 here, my first 2 quarter notes. I'm actually going to put my half rest, the one that looks like a hat. Now remember, I have 3 cards, but I still have 4 beats since the half rest is worth 2 beats all on its own. So here we go. It sounds like this. Rest, rest, 3, 4, rest, rest. Yeah? Now if I move the rest to the end of my measure, I still have 3 cards, 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 beats are a rest. This sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, rest, rest. 1, 2, rest, rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. I still count 3, 4, those last 2 beats in my head, even though I'm not clapping or making any music at that point. Now, I'm going to get rid of everything. We're going to start from scratch. Just like if I had a measure of 4 beats held to the whole note, this would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Where the music continues for all 4 notes. If I were to sing it, it'd sound like this. La, la. You can hear my 4 beats within that. Now, if I were instead to take my whole rest, remember the one where if I walked along it, I'd fall into the hole. There it is. Looks like a hat upside down. If I were to take my whole rest, this would mean 4 beats, a full measure of silence, like this. Rest, 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 rest. There's no clapping, there's no singing, there's no playing. It's all empty. Now, let's say I have my half rest, and I even have a quarter note rest. Let's see how many more beats I have to fill. We have 2 beats here, 1, 2 in the half rest, and 1 in the quarter rest. That equals 3. Very nice. So I'm going to only have 1 more beat left. So I have 2 options here. I can put in a quarter note. That is equal to 1 beat. I would have rest, 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 4, rest, 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 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm only clapping, playing, and singing 1 beat. Or I can even put in my 8th notes. Remember, these are half a beat, so I have 1, 2, 3, and 4 beats here. This would sound like this. Rest, 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 rest. Oh, excuse me. Rest, 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 4 and 2, 3, 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and. There's only 2 beats and they come on 4 and. Awesome. Now let's experiment. We have endless possibilities, and I encourage you to make up your own patterns. Challenge your family. Teach them how these rests work. Now we have one last challenge. All right. And what that is we're going to work with the 8th rest. Okay? This is only 1/8, right? 1/2 of a beat. Therefore, when I put it in a group, let's see here. When I put it in a measure of 4/4, let's say I have 3 beats right here, my half note, 2, 3, and I want to do an 8th note rest. Say, Miss Karina, how does that work? Well, we have to combine it with one of our 8th notes, right? One of our 8th notes. Okay? That would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, rest and. 1, 2, 3, rest and 1, 2, 3, rest and 1, 2, 3, rest and. Or since we have this half note, remember it's held for 2 beats, so la, 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 la. Nice job. Try on your own to build measures of 4 beats using these new rests. See how creative you can get and challenge yourself and your family. This week I have brought in a traditional folk song from Ghana. During the song, we are going to explore old and new concepts that we've been talking about. The lyrics in the song are just one word, Obwisana Sana. The original lyrics come from Obwisana Sanana, meaning the rock crushed my hand, Grandma. As in this song, children are traditionally passing a rock in a circle to the beat of the music. Let's see if we can find that steady beat in the music. The beat is different from the rhythm because it stays exactly the same throughout the whole piece. Let's try and find it together by clapping our hands to see how the kids would be passing the rock in this traditional game. If you are with your family, try passing a simple object like a pen or a small ball on the beat of the music, like where you would be clapping to the music. To start us off, look at this music and see what you recognize. You'll be able to recognize everything in the first line of the song. The rhythm used is eighth notes, quarter notes, and quarter note rests. Let's clap these rhythms. Obwisana sana, obwisana sa. Rest. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3. Rest. Now that we have sung the first line, we see at the end that there are 2 bars and 2 dots telling us to go back to the beginning and repeat the whole thing over again. We'll sing Obwisana sana, obwisana sa, obwisana sana, obwisana sa, and then repeat from the beginning. Let's give it a try. Make sure to clap your hands to the beat while we practice this rhythm. Obwisana sana, obwisana sa. Obwisana sana, obwisana sa. Obwisana sana, obwisana sa. Obwisana sana, obwisana sa. Very good. Feel free to rewind this video and practice that as many times as you need before we're ready to move on. Because now we're going to add the pitches and start singing this piece. Before we continue, I want to define one important term in music that's called an ostinato. An ostinato is a continually repeating phrase or pattern in music. The drumming pattern that you hear underneath all of this is a drumming pattern that I have found on the internet from a group of master drummers from Ghana. We put Obwisana over it because it's a song that works really well over any sort of rhythmic ostinato. We just keep it going and we sing, clap, or improvise over it. Let's give it a try. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Obwisana sana, obwisana sa. Obwisana sana, obwisana sa. Obwisana sana, obwisana sa. Obwisana sana, obwisana sa. Now the next part, I'm going to sing one measure and then you come in with Obwisana sa. Let's give it a try. Here we go. My turn. Obwisana, your turn. Obwisana sa. My turn. Obwisana, your turn. Obwisana sa. This also repeats like the first line did. So the soloist goes again, and then the group, that's you, come in on the second and fourth measure. Here we go. Obwisana, obwisana sa. My turn. Obwisana, so excited. Don't forget the repeats after each line. Here we go. Find the beat. Move however you want. Ready? Here we go. Always sana sana, 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 always 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 sana, always sana sana. Thank you so much. Feel free to give this song to your family and show it to them. Teach them this song and you guys can practice all together. Switch off who's being the soloist in the call and response section as well. I hope you enjoyed. Notice while you're dancing that the music is getting faster and faster little by little. This is called an accelerando. Last week I introduced a bunch of different instruments from the 4 different instrument families: the strings, the woodwind, brass, and percussion. Let's learn some more about different types of instruments today.
So, this is the trumpet, and it was invented in around 1500 BC, which was over 3,500 years ago. It's made of brass, which is a metal, and it is a member of the brass instrument family. It's probably the most famous brass instrument, and it is also the highest in pitch, which means it is high, not low. It is made using one big long bit of tubing wrapped up, and then a small bit here, which is called a mouthpiece, which we buzz into to make the sound. Now, the reason I really like the trumpet is because it is incredibly versatile and can play many different styles of music. For example, classical, pop, and also jazz.
Hi, my name's Nick, and I'm going to be talking to you about the guitar. You may have seen this instrument before or heard it in many different styles of music. It is a member of the string instrument family. It has a body, it has a neck, and it has a head, just like we do. And most importantly, it has 6 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, guitars come in all different shapes and sizes. This here is an electric guitar, which means the strings make sound, and they go through this little thing here called a pickup, and they're amplified, which means they're made louder. That information goes through the guitar, out through this cord here, and into a box on the ground I've got here called an amplifier. Now, guitars that can make sound on their own are called acoustic guitars. Now, when we play the guitar, we use one hand to strum or pluck, and we use the other hand to press down on what we call here the fretboard and change the sound of the strings. So as you might be able to guess, the guitar can play one note at a time, like a melody, or it could play more than one note at a time, which we call a chord. So that means we can sort of play the guitar on our own, accompany ourselves, which means just play by ourselves. Or we can play more of an accompaniment role, playing rhythms in a band.
Hi everyone, my name is Zach and I'm going to introduce you to my instrument, the French horn. The French horn is a member of the brass family, and just like other brass instruments, I make a sound by vibrating my lips, or what we call buzzing. When I buzz into a mouthpiece, the sound gets louder. When I put the mouthpiece into the instrument, the buzzing gets even more amplified and turns into the beautiful French horn sound. There are a lot of special things about the horn that make it different from other brass instruments, and one of these things is the range of the instrument. The horn can play quite high, but it can also go very, very low. These are the same notes that a tuba can play. The next thing that makes the horn so unique, you may or may not have noticed, but when I play, I put my hand inside of the bell. Nobody else does that. The reason that I put my hand in the bell is because, while it's a subtle, small difference, it makes the sound darker, smoother, and more mellow. Here's what it sounds like without my hand in the bell. Now listen to how much prettier the sound I get is when I stick my hand back inside. The hand also lets me make a whole bunch of fun sounds by opening it and closing it. Here, watch. I can also change the pitch by moving it around.
Hi everyone, my name is Brooke, and I play an instrument called the oboe. The oboe is part of the woodwind family. Our instrument is very, very, very unique. First of all, we have to make our own mouthpieces. They are called double reeds. And if you see this right here, the reason it's called double reeds is because there are two pieces of wood that vibrate against each other. Double means two, and reed is the type of wood that we use to play. So we have a lot of great solos in different pieces, and this means that we are either playing by ourselves or we have the most important part in the music at a certain time. So to demonstrate, I will play a solo from the ballet Swan Lake. Was quite slow. Sometimes composers who create new pieces of music want us to play really fast. So here's a piece that demonstrates that. Oboes are also very good at articulating short. Articulating is just a fancy way of saying that your tongue is stopping the air on the instrument. On the oboe, it sounds like ta, 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 ta. That's what we think about in our heads. To demonstrate this, I have a piece by Rossini called The Silken Ladder. Hopefully you can hear where it sounds like somebody's climbing up and down the ladder, and up and down the ladder.
Hi everyone, my name's Emily, and today we're going to be talking about the flute. So the flute's pretty cool because it's like a tiny person. It comes in 3 pieces. This is the part we blow into. It's called the head. And then this piece with all the buttons on it, this is called the body. So we put them together like this, where the head's on top. And then the very last piece that goes here, this is called the foot. And it's the lowest part of the flute, and it goes right there. The flute's so long I can't even make it fit in my camera. When you put it all together, it sounds like this. The flute is also pretty cool because it has its own family of instruments. And I don't have any of my big flutes here because they wouldn't fit on the airplane, but I have a piccolo. This is like a baby flute. It's got 2 pieces, and you'll see that this one is made out of wood instead of metal. So we have to be careful in the winter, otherwise if it's too cold it might split in half. Usually you'll hear a piccolo when you want to hear bird sounds. So that's the piccolo. But we can go even lower. There are alto flutes, bass flutes. There's a big flute called a contrabass flute that you have to be sitting on a stool to play, and it makes a big triangle up and around, and you play it like this. The flute is also pretty special because it can make lots of interesting sounds. So this one is one of my favorites. It's called flutter tonguing. Can you roll your R's? If we roll our R's and blow at the same time into the flute, we can make this noise. The flute can also do beatbox sounds, which is what I play a lot. It's my favorite. So if the regular flute sounds like this, we can add beatbox syllables, and it can sound like this. There's lots of other really cool sounds. This one's one of my other favorites. It's called a tongue ram. Pretty cool. All right. Well, that's a little bit about flute. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Hello everyone at JCAL. My name is Angus Mason, and today I'm going to talk to you about this, which is the drum kit. The drum kit is a great instrument because it's made up of not just one instrument, but actually lots of different instruments. As you can see here, we have 4 drums. One there, 1, 2, 3, 4, and all of these drums have different names. So the one down here that I'm playing with my foot is called the bass drum. Sometimes it can also be called the kick drum. This drum here is called the tom-tom, also called the floor tom-tom, because it sits on the floor. This one is the high tom, and this is the snare, because the cool thing about the snare is you can flick this little switch here, and it has a different sound. When we play the drums, we have cymbals with the drum kit. Now this cymbal here is called the ride cymbal, and these 2 cymbals are called hi-hats, and you can play them with your stick or with your foot.
this week, learning more about these instruments. I look forward to seeing you next week.